Today we're going to talk about the Nikon Z6 III. Let's get into it. Okay, the Nikon Z3. The first question on everybody's mind is, where is it? And why is it so late? Or is it late? Well, that's a good question. Let's talk about that for a minute. I have lots of things to say today about the upcoming camera of Nikon Z3. First of all, let's face it, there really hasn't been much new tech since the Z9. Right? The Z9 was incredible, still is incredible. The Z8 is a repackaged Z9. And frankly, the ZF uses the same X-Speed 7 processor of the Z8, Z9 and includes the same sensor as the Z6 II. So what's really new? Not a whole lot. Now the ZF has, some, I think some improved IBIS, but by and large, not a whole lot new. But the Z6 III is going to be different, I think. And I think that's the reason why it's taking a little bit longer. And if you could think about it, I think it makes sense for Nikon to put out the ZF at this particular time. The ZFC has been on the top 10 list for quite a long time. It's selling really, really well. And Nikon could just repackage some things and get it out there and make some more money. So that makes total sense. Especially, there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes that we don't know. There's part shortages and there's delays in getting things. So I don't fault Nikon. I think what they're doing, if we knew everything that they knew, we'd completely understand why the Nikon Z3 isn't quite out yet and why they put the Nikon ZF out there. It actually makes sense to me. But what's the new part and why is it taking so long? In my opinion, all this is my opinion. You are certainly welcome to put in the comments below your own thoughts. But in my opinion, the Nikon Z3 is going to be the future workhorse camera for Nikon for the next 4 years, probably. And people who buy that camera are going to want to keep it for quite a long time. And so it's got to stand the test of time, and it's got to be able to compete with Canon and Sony. And so in my opinion, what's going to happen is it has to be a stack sensor. So what I want to do today is walk through the channel that I think the Z6 III, where it's coming in, and it's actually getting a little easier. Some of this stuff's kind of obvious, some not so obvious, but we'll talk about that. The Nikon Z3 is going to be between the Z8 and the ZF, right? So it's going to kind of run in that lane. So I'm going to run through these. I'll put some of these right here. Did I do that right? So right here, there'll be a running tally of these things about the Nikon Z3. All right, the sensor. So, we've got a 45 megapixel on the Z8 and the Z9, and the ZFC is using the Z2 sensor, 24 megapixels. The Z6 III is going to be more than 24, right? But see, there's a bit of a problem. The minute you start getting more than 24, then people are going to start complaining about light. The Z6 II is great in low light. No one wants to give that up. So how do you do that? How do you increase the megapixels and kind of set it between the ZF and the Z8 and not lose that great low light capability that everybody loves? And the answer to that is a stack sensor. Right, so I think, in my opinion, the Z6 III is going to have a 33 megapixel BSI stack sensor, and that's why it's late. It's new tech. It's new tech, right? Z9 was brand new when it came out. The Z8's not new. The ZFC is not new, but the Z6 III is going to be new. It's going to have new tech in it. And Nikon is not going to put into the Z6 III just an available Sony sensor, in my opinion. Sony might manufacture it, but it's going to be a Nikon sensor. How do I know that, or why do I think that? Well, the readout speed of the 45.7 megapixel BSI stack sensor on the Z8 and the Z9 has the fastest readout speed of any sensor. So that's Nikon tech, right? Nikon has a number of patents on BSI and stack sensors. And so Sony might be manufacturing it, but Nikon has some secret sauce in these sensors. And so I think they're working to get a new 33-ish megapixel sensor for the Nikon Z3, and it's going to be stacked. And there's all kinds of advantages to having a stacked sensor: faster readout speed, blackout-free focusing, just faster focusing. Everything about having a stacked sensor makes total sense. And I think that's why the Z6 III is just not here yet. I mean, I think if Nikon had it, they would have put it out there, maybe. I mean, maybe not, right? It's possible they're delaying on purpose. Maybe they already have all the parts, but they make more money, right? On a Z8 and a Z9, they're going to sell every possible one they can make. And because of parts shortages, maybe they're just like, if we do the Z6 III on top of the Z8, then we'll have a lot of people want the Z6 III and not as many people with the 8, and we want to sell as many of the 8s as we can because they're more profitable, they're higher priced, more margin. So look, I don't fault Nikon. I think they're doing the absolute best that they can, and the cameras are coming out are just fantastic. So anyway, I think that's where we are with on the sensor piece. The processor, no question, it'll be an X-Speed 7, and just my opinion about that, and I'm really, really happy, super, super happy that the ZF came out with an X-Speed 7. I've said this all along. Canon, if you look at Canon's lineup, every single Canon mirrorless camera, from the lowest end right all the way up to their flagship, has that Digic X processor in it, and Canon was smart. Nikon, I think they got caught a little bit with, and they had the X-Speed 6, and it was available, and they'd been working on it, but it just wasn't quite as powerful. They've gotten by with it, and it's good, and it's great. I mean, there's only a few circumstances where I don't get what I want out of my Nikon Z2. But anyway, the X-Speed 7, definitely in. It's going to be great. We'll go through all the other specs that I think, but I personally think that the Nikon Z3 is going to be the best-selling camera of all time for Nikon. Just my opinion. Okay, let's keep going. ISO, I think because we're sitting between the ZFC, which is 24, and the Z8, which is 45, I think your ISO range on the Z6 III is going to come out around 64 to 45,000, give or take. The ZF is 100 to 64,000, and the Z8 is 64 to 256. And that 64 number, I don't know. They might, because of the Z8, they may just keep it at 100, so maybe 100 to 45,000 ISO range. For the Z6 III, I think that makes sense. The viewfinder is going to be the same as all the other ones. It's going to be 3.6 million dots. There's not going to be much change there. You're going to have all the same subject detection. The ZF has it. The Z8 has it. The Z6 III will have all 9 subject detection things that the other ones do. It'll have 3D tracking. It'll have pre-release capture. The max frame rate, I think what we're going to see is probably 14 to 16 RAW per second and up to 60 JPEG per second. And it's not that the camera couldn't do more, but I think they have to kind of set it between the ZF and the Z8. So that's kind of what I think, where we're going to kind of land for the Z6 III. In terms of video compression, I think we're going to have RAW HQ, 10-bit ProRes, 422 HQ, H.265 in-camera recording. So I think there's going to be plenty of video options for the movie folks in the room. Video formats, same as the Z8, NEF, movie, and MP4. But let's talk about video resolution recording. So will the Z6iii do 8K? And I think the answer is absolutely yes. I doubt it will have 60p. I mean, the Z8 does 60p, but the camera body is going to be a little smaller. I don't know. I don't think we're going to get 8K 60p. I think we're going to end up with 8K 30p on the Z6iii, and then 4K UHD at 120, 4K UHD at 60, and then all the other ones, 4K at 30, and then all the 1080p's. That's just where I think it's gonna sit. The monitor, I think the monitor is going to be the same as the Z8. I don't think it's going to be a tilt swivel thing. Nikon's made it clear, and people really like the axis options. I think the Z6iii is not going to be a selfie camera, so the tilt swivel thing, I just don't think they're going to do that. So I think same monitor as the Z8, I think. Body material, magnesium alloy carbon fiber, same as the Z8. Dual card slots, it'll be one CF Express and one SD card, same as the Z8. I don't see them changing that at all. Shutter, gosh, I don't know about the shutter. Is the shutter going to be electronic or mechanical? Put your thoughts below and your reasoning. Let me tell you, the only reason why I think it might be mechanical is because I've heard a number of complaints for people who are doing portrait photography. They don't like the 200 speed. They want 250 per second for flash sync speed. And 200 is just a tad slow for some people, and they've complained about it. So it's possible that because of the nature of the Z6iii, and it's going to be the portrait camera for the future, that maybe there'll be mechanical shutter to support a higher sync speed. Maybe. Now, it's also possible that because it's a stack sensor and it's a 33 megapixel instead of 45, and I mean, a lot's changed, right? I mean, technology just keeps improving. Maybe this new sensor will be able to come out with a stack sensor and a 250 sync speed. And in that case, maybe we'll have an electronic, right? An electronic shutter on the Z6iii. We will see. And if it has electronic, then it'll have a sensor cover like the Z8. I think the Z6iii will come out at 16 thousandth of a second in terms of shutter speed maximum. Flash sync speed we've talked to. Autofocus range, I think we're going to be in the -8 or -9 to +19 EV focusing, I think. That's just based on some extrapolation on the sensors from a 24 up to 45. I mean, the ZFC has a -10 EV focus capability. And so I think we're at a -8 or -9 on the Z6iii. It may not quite be what the ZFC is. But again, if the stack sensor that's got just a little bit better technology, since it's going to be newer, maybe we'll get the same as the ZFC and have a -10. Gosh, low light capability on the Z6iii. I'm telling you, the Z6iii is going to be the best camera, like the workhorse of all time for Nikon. It will be. VR, same, 5-axis interfaces. I'm guessing we'll have 2 USB interfaces just like the Z8. And the HDMI will be the standard one that it has now, which is the Type-C mini HDMI. There's only so much room here. And I think, too, just in terms of size, Nikon, surely Nikon, the Z6iii is going to have the same body size. It's not going to be any bigger than this. It needs to be Nikon. It needs to be the same size. I mean, the Z8's tempting, but it's too big. I just don't want it. It's too obnoxious for me. right? The ZF actually is 10 millimeters, centimeter longer, wider than the Z6. It's too chunky. I mean, the Z6 body is perfect. I did a poll about body types, and without fail, everybody wants the Z6iii to have the same body size as the Z6ii. So hopefully Nikon will get that right. I hope they do. Anyway, so that kind of rounds it out. That's what I think is going to happen with the Z6iii, and I'm super excited about it. Nikon Z3 coming early next year, I hope. Certainly, I think we'll see some rumors in the beginning of 2024, and hopefully not too far out after that. Maybe the April-May timeframe. Again, that is like a wild guess. I have no idea. But I do think, from a features perspective, it's pretty obvious where it's going to sit, right? Because now it's sandwiched between the ZF and the Z8. So if you like these kind of videos, please subscribe. It helps it grow. Hit the thumbs up, if you will. Hit all notifications. That'd be great. And we'll catch you on the next video. I've got lots of things planned, and I appreciate it. And sorry for the big delay, by the way. I had some heart surgery back in May, had a few complications after that, and life was just super busy over the summer. So apologize for that, but we're back doing videos. Thanks for watching. Bye.